Good evening, everyone. It is now 6 p.m. and the August 3rd, 2026 Bel Air Beach City Council meeting will come to order. Tonight's invocation is presented by Council Member Frank Banker.
Thank you. Our Father who art in heaven, please hear our prayers. We come before you acknowledging that all authority ultimately comes from you. Lord, we remember King Solomon. When you called him to lead, he did not ask for power or prestige. He called himself your servant and asked only for wisdom so he could faithfully serve your people. You honored that prayer because his heart was centered on service, not self. Yet scriptures also remind us that Solomon's heart changed. The humility that once defined him gave way to pursuit of power, influence, and control. As he drifted from serving the people to serving himself, his nation suffered. Father, never let power become more important than your people, or control become more important than listening to your people. Remove from us hardened hearts that refuse to hear the voices of the citizens we were choosing to serve. Give us ears to listen with humility, courage to admit when we are wrong, and wisdom to place truth, justice, and the public trust above personal agendas or political victories. May every decision made in this chamber reflect not ours, but yours. In Jesus' name, your Son, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Now please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert.
Present.
Councilmember Beam.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Harper.
Present.
Councilmember Shirley.
Here.
Vice Mayor Roberts.
Here.
Mayor Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Riefler.
Here.
City Attorney Trask.
All right, thank you, Kathy. We're moving right over to item number 1. Our first order of business is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion is made by Councilmember Beam. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Shirley, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Next up, item 2, we have a presentation from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, beginning with the monthly law enforcement report.
Good evening. I'm Sergeant Sapnera. This is my first week here back in this area. I spent previously about a year and a half working day shift in the city, so I'm somewhat familiar, but the meetings I'm not as familiar with. So I kind of went down with what I've got, and I'll give you guys some stuff from June and July, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try and expound upon that. So from what I read in July, nothing super significant in terms of criminal activity. There was a burglary from a boat. Someone stole somebody's radar. It was 430 22nd Street. The case is still currently with detectives right now, working on that. It was about a $3,000 radar that was stolen off a gentleman's boat. And I think this was information on this before, but there was a drowning, I believe that most of you are familiar with. It was a 76-year-old man that had gone out for a swim, and a short time later was found by boaters. He was transported to Largo Medical Center, and later pronounced deceased. So from what I understand, there's nothing suspicious about it. Nothing seems off. Possibly Rip Curran would be the only thing I can guess, but I don't want to say anything too much because I'm not sure. But I know initially that evening he was still alive, I think in stable condition, but he did later unfortunately pass away. They were from out of town. They're from West Virginia. They were not locals to the area. From what I saw, and again, I'm still, bear with me as I'm getting used to running some of these things and numbers and getting you guys as much as I can. For units assigned to the city, there was only one arrest I saw for July. For a false ID provided, there was an intoxicated male found at somebody's doorstep on the 4th of July. And as far as June, there were listed as 7 arrests. They were all misdemeanors. 2 of them were listed as assaults. Again, it was misdemeanor related. I didn't have the case numbers on those, so if that's something from now on for the month before I can try and get a little bit more on that. Didn't seem like there was anything of note just based on it being a misdemeanor. And for the total month of June, 177 citations and warnings were issued within the city limits. And I don't have those July numbers yet, but I will get those. So that's, I think, what I've got. If anyone has any questions, I can try and give you something though.
Council, any questions or comments? Thank you for being here, Sergeant.
Thank you, guys.
All right, next up is Deputy Trump with the Code Enforcement Report.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I appreciate you having me here. I'm Deputy Trump. I do your code enforcement for the city. For the month, we actually had another month that was relatively light, especially with the weather and everything else that we've been having. Thank goodness we're getting plenty of rain lately. But it basically, for me, has been just maintaining kind of around the city, trying to keep things cleaned up. I'm still obviously watching the construction sites as much as we can, trying to keep those in order, and those guys, cleaned up as far as their sites, and dealing with the parking issues, which everybody knows we are trying to deal with those. So we're trying to make daily checks on those as much as we can, trying to keep everybody happy. For my stats, I had 116 entries for the month, 43 new cases, 32 follow-up cases that I did, and I was able to close 41 cases. So one of the only things that I'd like to talk about, just take a minute, is we've had a couple of cases as far as some suspicious incidents without going into a whole lot of details and things like that. We are finding, meaning us as deputies, a lot of times, unfortunately, people are seeing suspicious things and they would call in, especially over weekends or however, they're calling into the city, leaving voice messages or however, and now we're way behind the ball. We had one guy, just as an incident, had a suspicious vehicle. We think it was possibly they were trying to maybe steal some building materials off of a lot. The gentleman had the information, but he waited until the next day to actually come in, and one of the girls actually called the deputy off the street and came in to meet him so we could get information on it. That's one of the biggest things that we fight, and it's been said by our sheriff himself, if you see something, please say something. We would much rather come out and it be nothing at all than waiting a day or two, or we getting the information and we're way behind the ball when we possibly could have, apprehended somebody that was actually, out here possibly committing thefts or however. So I know we're going to put that into the newsletter also to try and get it out to everybody. Please call us. And let us come out and let us do an investigation and stuff, so hopefully we can keep the city safe and, keep the crime down around here and let the guys know that we're out here. So, the only other thing that I have is we do have some new deputies. Actually, like Sergeant said, he's new to the area again. We do have a couple of new deputies. The city manager and I actually had a meeting this morning already with her, and her name is Deputy Lazo. And we had a meeting with her supervisor, and her corporal, so that everybody could meet everybody and kind of get a lay of the land and everything else. And we're going to continue doing that with the other new deputies. I'm going to get out here, especially with the midnight guys, myself, and make sure everybody's kind of on the same page. So if there's anything that needs to get passed on, please don't hesitate to email me or however. We will make sure that the proper information gets out there. We'll get everybody on the same page. Okay? Any questions?
Council?
Yes, sir.
At the last Bel Air Shores meeting, you caught a couple with their dog on the beach, and they said it was a service dog, I believe.
Yes, sir.
If you refresh your memory.
Yes, sir.
And you said you have a couple questions you asked or whatever, and they couldn't answer the questions. Are service dogs allowed on the beach?
Yes.
They are?
If they are, yes. If they are real registered service dogs, they are allowed on the beach, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Councilman Hall.
You had mentioned there that over the weekend that people may call into the city and it doesn't get to you. So when they call into the city over the weekend, is there a recording that then points them towards your number so that they have your number?
I believe that it is on the city's recording for them to call if there's an emergency or a police matter for them to call the non-emergency number. Obviously, if it's an emergency, call 911. I mean, that way we get the information the fastest. But if it's just something that maybe is a little suspicious or however, they can call these non-emergency number of 582 6200, 727-582-6200. And bear with them, they are going to try and get as much information as they can, but they do have the right also to say, I don't want to provide any information, I'd rather remain anonymous, because, you know, they may not want to have their information out there, or they're afraid, you know, that another neighbor may find it out. But please call them a non-emergency number at least, and we'll get that out in the newsletter also.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I believe it does actually, when you call the city, excuse me, as you're going through the different options you have. I've never pushed this one, but I believe there is an option there that says, if you need to speak to the sheriff's office, hit this number, whatever it is.
Yeah, I believe it is on.
So hopefully that
main
takes
course,
me to it.
So now we just need people to do that.
Yeah. Just a follow-up question with what you mentioned earlier about asking all of us that if we see something to call the sheriff's department, which is great. Do we have any data, I'm just curious, that tells us how many times a citizen of Bel Air Beach has actually called you guys to alert you to something they're concerned about?
You mean, per se, one citizen? Is that what you're asking?
Correct. How many calls you've received from a Bel Air Beach citizen saying, I'm concerned about the following?
I will check into that. I don't know if they actually track that data or not. I know, you know, obviously if they provide the information, their address and their names and everything else will go into our database system, and that can be run through CAD as far as like an address, and we can bring it up to see how many times, you know, we've had calls say at this address or however. So it is trackable. I don't have, per se, numbers on that.
I would just hope that there would be at least some people that actually did that as opposed to calling the city number.
Yes, sir. I would hope so too, because it helps us with our information, our data gathering, and helps us get out there a little faster too.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Last call for questions or comments? All right, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next up, a presentation from Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue. Welcome, Chief Grimes.
Thank you. Bear with me for just a second. There we go. Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I wanted to give you my monthly report and some additional information that I've passed out. I always like to just start with some action photos of a good story. We had a fire in Seminole, and these were some great action shots where they were able to quickly identify the cause and clear the situation with no property damage. And that's good. We also had 2 paramedics graduate this round. It's really hard. Staffing is really hard these days. The state produces 2,000 firefighters a year, and we need 4,000. And paramedics are almost just as hard. So we're trying to grow our own, and so we have quite a few people going through paramedic school, which is brutal for them. We just, again, had 2 graduate. We have several more in school. We had a survey this month. We got a survey back that the county does that actually gave us 100% customer satisfaction score. So I wanted to report that to you. We're proud of that. And it had a pretty high respondent rate too. These are the categories. It's in your report, and the questions that were asked. The calls for the month, fire-wise, we had 7 in Bel Air Beach. We had 10 EMS calls, so a total of 17 calls overall. Just for a look, because those charts are sort of hard to see, just the Bel Air Beach volume by month shows the sort of seasonal trend. This is hard to sort of decipher, but we look at 2 things. One, how many calls happened in our district, which we're responsible for, and then how many calls did our actual fire department do. So there were about 1,900 calls, can't see it from here, but in the district itself. So the area we cover, and we did over 3,000 calls total as a department. So again, I always report that we do about half our calls is serving the rest of the system, and it's often been asked, that's reciprocated. So I'm going to show you in a second. So about 25% of our calls are fire, 75% EMS, about half and half, district, out of district. This is the one I'm working on because, so the blue line is in the district and the orange line is out of the district. So I'm really trying to enhance our coverage so that we're able to cover more calls in our district. And so that's, and we're being pretty successful if you look at past, about month 5 here on my report. We crossed the line where we're doing more inside the district than we are outside the district. And that's what I'm really striving for. As we make a couple enhancements, that's going to improve. When we add the north station, that'll improve. And then when we move the south station a bit north into the district, that'll improve that much more. Gives us much more reliability when we're not outside the district. These are the calls for the month, and I put a pin map in here where those calls occurred in Bel Air Beach. And so as you can see, there was 2 motor vehicle collisions, a fire alarm, 2 falls, 2-person down. And everything else was pretty much a one-off. I did look at the calls myself to see what was, if anything stood out. And the only thing stood out that I wanted to just mention to y'all is, so we had a water rescue call. And what I wanted to show you is, so the yellow screen that you're seeing, every one of those rows is a unit assigned. So a Marine call, and we actually get a lot of these where they're good intent. Somebody says, oh, I see somebody, looks like they're struggling. It turns out to be a crab trap, or someone jumped off the bridge, but it's real, it's a kid that's, having a good time. But in this case, there are 8 agencies involved in this call, including the Coast Guard and the police. So really what I wanted to point out is, you can see on here where you live is where the blue arrow is. And the stations were completely deployed, and 44 to the north, 43, 41, which is actually more into Largo, and then 27. And then 28, which is our station on the mainland. So every station around you for a call like that is completely depleted. And that's why having a system is important, where we back each other up. But in that case, for a very short period of time, because quickly they figured out that they could cancel a lot of these units, that for a very short period of time, there wasn't much coverage out here. So that's why when I say it's like a spider web, you wiggle it somewhere and it affects it somewhere else. And so we operate as part of this sort of amazing system, I think. July 4th weekend, I think I reported this last time. I left it in there because this is going to be my July report, and I want to memorialize it. We were busy. Our normal call volume is about 10 a day, and so this is 31 a day was on the 4th of July. It was an incredibly busy weekend. Fire prevention, we did 70 annual inspections where we inspect. So this comes up later in my presentation, but we're required by the state now to inspect every short-term rental. So that's a huge unfunded mandate for us. And if you imagine the resources, we have 1,800 in the district. So 1,800 inspections a year is challenging to ramp up to. But we did 70 annual inspections. So those are businesses and condos and things like that, re-inspections too, 1 plan review, and short-term rental inspections, 96. We also started, we're trying to ramp up our public education. And so we became a CPR training center. It was one of your Bel Air Beach citizens that recommended it. So we started offering these classes. The phone number is in my presentation there, who to call, and we'll continue to get the word out, any condo, or, if you want to do it here at City Hall or anything like that. But we'd like to teach as many people CPR as we can. Our capital projects are going well, 28, I'm going to show you in a minute, and I think I'll just get to the slides really. So as I just pointed out in the other slide, and I've talked about before, there's a big hole up here where we don't have coverage. We're adding it October 1st, and I'm going to show you what that does. So you can see the circle is closed, and that'll close the coverage here. We bought this house, and I know I've talked about it, but it's in North Indian Rocks Beach. You guys gave us the idea because we would talk about using your house, and that was like, why can't we just use a house? And so we bought this house next to our lot. You can see on the map where 75 is new. There was nothing there before. I don't think I had it there, no. So nothing there before, and so this is how the renovations are going. We bought the house flood damaged, and so we suffered the pain that many residents have suffered. And that is a picture of almost today, I think that was last week, of the inside of the house. We're just about done with it, and they're doing the final trim on electrical and stuff like that. They hooked up the power today. So literally we'll be able to be operational by October 1st is the real goal. So that adds to that coverage area for this area that, again, is so critical. This is our Station 28. It's on the mainland, but it's coming along. It's topped off now, and it's scheduled to open January of next year. I talk a lot about the rescue funding. I know I sent an email. We continue to advocate on all of our citizens' behalf to have a rescue out here, because as I just described, it's really easy for the system to be depleted. When the system's depleted and the Sunstar ambulances aren't available, there's no rescue transport capability out here. County bought us a rescue a couple years ago with the intent to staff it, but this year they were unable to justify the staff, recommending the staffing in the budget. So we've got, we're going to go appeal to the county commission, and that process is coming up. But as you can see, it's not just that we don't have a rescue, but that corridor, the green on the map is where there is no rescue. So there's some interesting arguments like, what do I say to St. Pete Beach, who I didn't give anything to, and I'm going to give you all 2 positions. That's one for our North Station and the rescue. And what I would say is, St. Pete Beach has 2 rescues, and we don't have any. The problem is, the problem is also that we don't have one, but also on the mainland, where another rescue would have to come from, doesn't have one. So we're like 1 deep into not having a rescue. So it's important, pressure relief valve. At the end of the day, it's up to the county commission, and we'll make the case to them and trust that they're guided by the right hand and make the right decision. And so that's coming up. I'm actually going to go to the commission and read into the record, I hope, at a workshop. I've asked to be heard, even though there's not citizens to be heard on the 6th. On the 11th, we're asking city representatives if they want to advocate for it. That's the time to citizens to be heard, commissioners to be heard, and then the budget meeting is September 10th. So I got a schedule put out for that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I left you a frequently asked questions for the TPLE, Transient Public Lodging Establishments. So the state of Florida has laws which require us to inspect annually and register and do certain things to TPLE. As I've reported before, our commission adopted a resolution that changed the use, as far as for the fire assessment fee, changed the use of those from residential to commercial. And so it basically added some to their fire assessment fee. And it's to compensate for the fact we gauged it. There's many areas around the state have done this already, but we've mirrored ours after West Manatee, which is in Manatee County. They cover 4 barrier island cities and a piece of the mainland. They're almost identical to us. We instituted their resolution actually, and it reclassified these occupancies. As far as we're concerned, it doesn't affect the zoning or anything like that. It's just how the fire assessment fee is applied. And so the notices of the letter came out today or over the weekend, so we're getting a lot of calls. So I was afraid you all may get a lot of calls too. And so I gave you frequently asked questions, and then you can always obviously refer them to us. We have a commission meeting coming up in a couple weeks. We expect to get some questions during that time. But the essence of the story is the state has this requirement that we do all this extra work for them. Our commission decided it wasn't fair, and not that we could even do it, because we'll have to hire 6 new fire inspectors. It's not fair to charge every resident for those unique properties, and this was a way to, as judiciously as we could, compensate by charging those folks a little bit more on their fire assessment. I say a little bit, but that's not really right, because what's a little bit? It's more. And so We haven't raised our fire assessment since 2019. There's just some things in the frequently asked questions. We actually can't raise our fee schedule without a referendum of all the voters, which is unique to every other district. Every other district can raise it every year based on cost of inflation, but we're stuck in that. Actually, in the past is what got the district into trouble, is because it doesn't keep pace with inflation. So, that's where we're at with that. I just wanted to give you a few bullet points and open it up to any questions.
Council? Yes. Councilmember
I'm not sure if I'm following you. You said you can't increase the assessment for these short-term rentals, correct?
We can't. We can't increase our fee schedule.
Okay.
So what the resolution did is it reclassified short-term rental from residential to commercial use, based on use.
So they're getting a higher assessment?
They are getting
based
a higher
on
assessment,
commercial
right.
use. Okay.
The one that I saw, the normal residential assessment is $360, and I saw one today that it went to $951. So, and that's to help with the hiring additional personnel and other things to manage that.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Quick question.
Yes.
When in reference to kitchen, are you referring to kitchen of the house, or are you talking about kitchen of like a commercial production?
Kitchen of the house is how we interpret it. There was room for interpretation there because the ordinance actually says kitchen, dining room, there's a bar, and so we consciously made the choice of, we didn't want to pile on here. We wanted to make it as meager as we could. So we made a conscious choice that we weren't charging for dining rooms, we weren't charging for all those other things. But yes, it's just having a kitchen. Because the kitchen is a different type of fire hazard, to be honest. Like residential, like if it's a bedroom, then it's one thing. If it actually has where you cook, it becomes a different risk factor. So it made sense to us.
Thank you. Yes.
How do you identify which homes are the short-term rentals?
So we use mostly a few sources, but mostly is Granicus. It's the computer program that crawls the web. We ask, of course, we're always asking them to register with us because we're required by law to register. So I would say the main sources are our own registry. There are some cities who have very robust inventory or registries themselves, and we've compared notes, but they use Granicus too. And that's like Indian Rocks Beach, it's been a hot issue. And that's really it. What Granicus does is so before we reclassify someone, they have to rent their property more than 3 times a year for less than 30 days. And Granicus actually shows every time it's rented. And so we had to go through 2,000 of these and look on, and we can actually see the rental and the confirmation that it actually took place. And then, so we tried to be pretty judicious about it, but there will be, I'm confident, there's going to be people that are classified that shouldn't be, and we'll fix that before. That's what the letter was designed for, is so that we can correct anybody who's not, or anybody who wants to appeal. We're really trying, as I've made often in my presentations, we're trying to be extremely judicious with the taxpayer dollars, but how do we pay for this is the question. We, again, our fees are less than any other fire department or fire district, and we're going to keep it that way. And we're going to keep managing the money in a way like the house that we bought that saved probably $7 or $8 million for the taxpayer and stuff. We wouldn't raise the fees unless we really have to.
Chief,
Yes.
do you have a list that you give your inspectors when they go out to inspect these homes for rental?
Yeah, we have a list of short-term rentals that we had to do this process on. So now the question is, because they're supposed to register with us, and then when they register, they schedule their initial inspection. So the question is, and I don't know the answer, like now that we have 1,800 of these, how are we, the ones that aren't registered, what are we going to do about that? And I'm not positive the answer to that.
What I'm really interested in, Chief, is the list of items that you look at when an inspector goes through the home.
Oh, absolutely. We have that list. I think it's on our website, but yes, we have a very detailed checklist of the things that they have to have. And you know, I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk too long. West Manatee had 80% of their fires were in short-term rentals. And after they instituted this program, 20% of their fires are in short-term rentals. 100% of their drownings were of short-term renters. And after they implemented this, because they also leave behind drowning prevention information, and we also check the doors, for example, to make sure they have alarms on them for where there's pools. So 0% of their drownings last year were from short-term rentals. So it's not just government bureaucracy, or there are real world. When somebody walks into a house, we have one. It's abnormal, but 54 occupants with one single stair exit is what it's listed for. When you have 54 strangers in one exit that exits into a garage area where there's all these lithium-ion battery fires now, and those people aren't familiar with the building. And so it's causing a real issue. So if we can get in there, we can make sure they have education, they understand how to get out in the event of a fire. It really has real human benefits.
Vice Mayor Roberts.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question about the hands-only CPR. So has that proven to be as effective as the old-fashioned CPR that we're familiar with?
Yeah, medicine is one of those things that one of my favorite doctors said 50% of the things they say aren't true, and the trick is learning which 50%. But yes, the studies show that having consistent compressions, circulating, getting that lactic acid and keeping it moving is in some cases as effective as trying to ventilate. If you have two trained professionals, that's one thing, and you can ventilate effectively. But for somebody who's not trained and you take a long time, and letting that pressure after you stop compressions drop to zero again and then have to build it back up. So it has been proven to be effective.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Chief, if each one of us were to reach out to the Board of County Commissioners to ask on the district's behalf, what would be the message? How would you like for us to word that to our county commissioners?
Yeah, I think, and I hope I sent my one pager, but there really is, we don't have a rescue out here. We need it more than most areas because of the barrier island, the drawbridges, and it's the basic level of the system, so we don't even look at it as something over and above. It's everywhere else has rescue coverage, and we're happy to be able to contribute to the system, the EMS system as a whole, with our tax dollars, but really this is what we would consider the minimum level of service. And very respectfully, and I'm really trying to be very collaborative with the city or with the county staff, and even complimentary of them. But at the end of the day, the county commission is the one that has to make the hard decision. The county staff's really between a rock and a hard place. They've got 20 requests, and we already got one. And so how do they give us, they're in this position where they have to weigh it all out. The county commissioners can, I think, see past that argument and can override it. So did that help? And I also think I sent a one pager that gives some bullet points, but I'm really, really, at the end of the day, they're the EMS authority, and we'll work out whatever they say, right? Of course. Yeah.
All right, last chance for questions or comments.
Just can I clarify something? So they have approved one. When we call them, we have to really specify we need two. Is that correct? Is this
To clarify.
To clarify, I just want to make sure that I'm saying that correctly. So if I call it.
So our request was for two.
Right.
They approved one.
Okay.
In the county's budget is one position for our new station. I feel like it's almost a classification problem. We shouldn't have actually even included that in that enhancement, because every fire station in the county that's new has every station has a person. So anyway, in their budget, they've approved one. They did not approve the rescue. So I'm trying to, at the same time, focus the issue on the rescue rather than So that's why I'm just singularly saying the rescue.
You just want to call it the rescue.
Right.
Okay. And that would be for
And we
the
appreciate-
district, but it will, and not to be confused, it will cover both the Seminole area that you cover as well as the beach area.
It'll be right now it's scheduled to be at Station 27 at Indian Rocks Beach, so certainly right over the bridge into our other area, so it will serve them
It'll
all.
free up manpower to allow you to
Correct.
serve.
So I would say we're appreciative of the one position for our new station. We, we respectfully ask for a rescue. I asked St. Pete Beach a question, something about how much, or how many people do they have on their rescue? They said, well, we have 2 rescues. So I was like, so I'm trying to, in the most collaborative way, though, make the respectful, and at the end of the day, they make the decision. But I really appreciate, because in a way, I'm the fire expert who's your expert. But technically, my fiduciary is to fire. And so, I've educated the cities, but it's really the EMS authority and the cities that need to, decide.
And unfortunately, EMS is not, I don't know what the deal is, why they won't just go ahead and give it to us. Because if they suggested it, then the BCC would just automatically unanimously vote on it.
Right.
So the EMS advisory, or the EMS is actually the blockade in this. I encourage everyone here to reach out to your county commissioners and see if we can circumvent this, because I think it's much needed. Chief, I appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you so much for the detailed presentation, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me so much time.
All right, now we are up to the city attorney report. Tom, take it away.
Mr. Mayor, at the last meeting, I was asked to reach out to, I'm talking about the ECL administrative hearing issue. Last meeting, I was asked to reach out to Mr. Manzo to see whether or not he would be available to help the city in that litigation matter if it arises. And he has responded that he is not able to do that because he's currently representing a few other individuals. He thanks us for the opportunity, but he won't be able to do that. Following that, I reached out to my partner, Randy Mora, who is obviously the former city attorney here. Told him what I was looking for. I asked him if he had any recommendations relative to someone else that handled that litigation. And he said, well, Tom, we handle that type of litigation. Rob and I, Rob Eschenfelder is another partner, and Randy have handled that type of litigation in the past relative to things related to coastal construction, coastal protection, the ECL line in the past. I provided you with a couple of orders and cases that we have represented communities on relative to coastal issues. Please remember that we're also panel counsel for the Florida League of Cities, and we handle cases throughout the state of Florida. We are currently representing a number of coastal communities, 4 or 5 here in Pinellas County, along with others that are farther south. So with that information, I wanted to bring that forward to you to let you know that we have the capability and expertise in the law firm with 2 other partners that will be able to handle the matter if in fact a formal administrative hearing is filed. And so that's kind of where I left it, unless I get direction from the council to do something different. So
If memory serves me correct, we left that in Kyle's hands. Is that correct, council?
That's right.
Correct. And have you made any decisions, Kyle?
No, so I was aware that Mr. Manzo declined, and that Attorney Mora was interested, but that's all the only information I have. That's the only 2 attorneys to look at.
All right, and the deadline is the 7th, is that correct?
So the formal administrative petition would have to be filed by August the 7th. Once that is filed, Randy and Rob would review it and then get back and make a presentation here if necessary to advise you as to what they're making a recommendation that the council do in relation to the formal administrative proceeding, because we don't have it, we don't know what it's going to say, and so we need to see that before we take any action. If you don't want to necessarily have a presentation on that, and you want Kyle to work directly with the attorney, that is obviously a possibility too. So I'm looking for direction.
Kyle, how do you feel?
Yeah, I've worked with Attorney Mora before. We all have had him as city attorney, and we all think highly of him. I believe he does well, well-educated, great background. I wasn't aware of his background as it pertains to the ECL. I'd like to, I mean, if I was to make the selection, I would like to at least look at some other attorneys that have a background with ECL, environmental, just to possibly hear them out and look at what their background is, what cases they've handled, and compare them back to Attorney Mora. But that's kind of where I stand right now.
Council comments? Yes.
So, Attorney Trask, so how time sensitive would this be? So if Bel Air Shores does move forward, how much time do you think we would have to make a decision on who we want to hire?
It would need to be fairly quickly. I would say within a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And so that doesn't mean, frankly, that Randy or Rob could handle the matter and switch over if necessary if you feel that it needs to be somebody else. And I just don't. I don't have any other names for you. I don't know any other attorneys that I could recommend that Kyle could talk to. So I don't really know where to go from there.
So the question I would have would be, there would be nothing preventing us from bringing Attorney Mora onto the conversation or onto the cases lead with the opportunity to add additional counsel if resources are needed. That would be a fair statement.
I think the goal was to have someone representing Bel Air Beach. After the rebuttal is filed, and then it goes back to their review. That's a public meeting, and so someone from Bel Air Beach needs to be there to represent our city. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're filing suit or seeking litigation. It just gives us a formal opportunity to speak our opposition in a public forum in Tallahassee. And the goal was to have someone that was not a layman, but somebody who actually knew the law and could fairly represent us.
But in this shortened time frame, we're talking literally 4 days before the deadline to file, would it make sense to have representation that could be expanded if that is needed once they have filed and we've had a chance to investigate?
I would think so.
There was one other thing that came up. It was intervening party. Is that the term?
Can you
speak up a little, please?
We can't hear you.
Can't hear you, sorry.
So you asked whether or not, the actual process would be, as the mayor is discussing it, as just having someone represent at the formal administrative hearing the city's position versus intervening in the actual administrative law proceeding. Obviously the city, and that's the thing that Randy and Rob would review. Once the petition was filed, then you would know what it actually says, and then you would have an opportunity to decide whether or not you need to intervene, want to intervene, want to hire outside counsel, continue on with us in the past, as we have done in the past. But you won't have to do anything until after the formal administrative petition is actually filed.
Understood. Is there any time limit for the intervening party?
So it all depends on what the administrative law judge says when he starts, or she starts scheduling the matter. So I won't know that until I see that order.
Yes.
Most administrative law judges or hearings will give you 20 days before the hearing is to intervene. All right, but you'll really have no standing if you wait that long. As Mr. Trask said, they probably will not file till the 7th that they file, and then you'll have an open record of what they're complaining about or petitioning about. I've talked to Mr. Manzo as of today. He's a little bit disheartened that he wouldn't take the case. He said, well, I remember him having second thoughts. He says, but if I have one litigant that doesn't want me to take it, I can't take it. So I'm going to talk to that litigant because I really believe he's done so much work for the city for free already. Bringing in anybody, including Mr. Trask's associates, he's going to have to come up to speed with this. It's going to cost at least 10 to 20 hours. That will cost us a sizable amount of money. I think Mr. Manzo already has a strategy in place. I didn't ask him what it was, but I'm going to see if he'll reach out to Kyle after this meeting, and maybe we can get him back on the table.
So let me just address that. Randy is already aware. I've already provided him with all the documentation that we've received. So he has read it all. He's familiar with what the issues are. It would require 10 or 20 hours of prep time to get up to speed. He's already up to speed, just so you know. Everything that I've seen that's come into the city, I've provided to him so far.
And Mr. Manzo does have skin in the game. He's a taxpayer here.
All right, so do we need to pull this back and do a vote on it? Or Kyle, are you going to make a decision?
So if I understand, they probably gonna wait till the 7th to file, and then we're gonna read what they filed, and then we're gonna have an idea of what their argument is. Can we wait until the Attorney Trask and Attorney Mora, I guess, Undertaker or whatever, prepared for this case, to see what that is, and then if need be, we can call a special meeting if a quick decision needs to be made.
Okay, all right. Counselor, are you good with that? Did everyone hear that?
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, yes, I agree we could call a special meeting, but I think I have all confidence in Kyle to make the decision, and he's capable of doing so. So I think that we just give it back to Kyle. There's no need to call a meeting for him to hire a firm.
The city's you said you're gonna wait until it's 7th.
Right, waiting to see what is actually on the petition, and then waiting for Mr. Moore's report, is that correct?
Yeah, I'd like to see what they are going to argue, and see Attorney Moore's opinion on what he thinks if he feels he can represent it well, and possibly consult with another attorney at that point, just for speak to somebody else, get a second opinion.
Counsel?
I think that the city manager is more than capable of making a decision. I think he's got a vote of confidence from council as far as how to proceed with his operating authority to make those decisions.
Agree. Hear that? That's okay. All right, well, then that's settled.
Thank you.
All right, now we move on. Oh, is that it for your report? Yes, sir. Okay, all right. Now we are, excuse me, you're out of order. 1 second. Mr. Baker, you now have the floor.
I didn't think the meeting was closed, or the discussion with the city manager was closed yet. That's why I interrupted. I didn't hear you say it was closed. Anyway, you sent out an email a couple weeks ago saying about property tax referendum that's going to voters. The county suggested we might have somebody come into the city and give a presentation how it would affect the city.
Yeah.
Is there any status on that? Is that going to go forward, or?
We have not heard an update. Jennifer in my office was the contact, and it was Kimberly Fairfield's office that was organizing it, I guess, with Bluffs, Shore, I think IRB as well, and they were going to post it here, but we have not heard an update.
I just got a couple of residents asked me. I I said, I haven't heard anything.
We thought it was definitely worthwhile, and I mean, every city's gonna have a different, situation, but each one could talk of how that would affect the budget if passed, and what, how that would change the future if they do go with that.
You can proceed now, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so now we're on to item number 5, which is the city manager report. Kyle, you are up.
Okay, thank you. The Cedar Drive project, we had a couple week delay because hit some roots where they were trenching to move the panel from the house to the auxiliary garage building that we're going to keep. So that's been worked out, and we do have the demolition permit issued, so I imagine within a couple of weeks we'll get that scheduled. The code review, we have second readings for every chapter that we did first readings for last month. We do not have any new readings this month, but I spoke to Attorney Trask, and we're going to power through the rest of the chapters that we need to get done. So we'll do first and second, September and October to finish those revisions. I did just the 22nd Street Bridge. We have that proposal for the repair project. That is an item on tonight's agenda, so we'll cover that later. Gulf Boulevard undergrounding. This week is the utility consultants of Florida are finishing the conduit. Their very last boring will be from Crossman Park underneath Causeway Boulevard back to the opposite side of the intersection. And that will connect phase 1 to the switches that are in Crossman Park. So that will complete our utility consultant of Florida's job. And then the remaining contractor, which is Duke Energy's subcontractor Powertown, they've currently been placing the equipment on phase 1 along with the poles. Their target date for phase 1, and this is to be completely energized, is November of this year. So that's going to be their goal, to finish first phase 1 before they move on to phase 2. And then starting in January with a target date of June 2027. So we're looking at it'll last about 3/4 of a year to wrap up both phases. But I'll be happy when we finish in November of all the phase 1 energized and working correctly.
Yeah, it didn't take long at all, did it?
And we were working on the survey we talked about for the possible reduction of speed on county roads, Causeway Boulevard and Gulf Boulevard. We're looking, it's currently 35 miles per hour in Bel Air Beach. We're looking at possibly reducing it to 30 miles per hour. There were a couple different suggestions. So we have, I believe, 3 sample questions that Clerk Thornsberry sent out to the council. We want to keep it simple and use software that we already have in the house, but we understand that we have limited email addresses to residents, so we don't necessarily reach everyone. So we priced out as simple as we can make it, just a mailer kind of postcard to mail to each resident to tell them that we're having this survey to go to the city website. So at least we'll reach as many people as possible to get the best results. The price is a little less than $250, but to me, for a survey, seems worthwhile to get those extra people included.
Could I make a suggestion? If we are physically going to do a mailer, you might want to do like a QR code on the mailer itself so that it's a quick scan. So
Sure.
Having to type the address of the survey location.
Yep, so we'll be working on that, and the goal is to get it out and back with results in a couple of weeks, so we can have that by the next work session. This comes up on a new project we're looking at. It's similar to what Bellevue Estates Island did with a utility assessment. So as you know, or you may not be familiar, Bellevue Estates Island, which is the Finger Islands that 22nd Street Bridge connects. Back in 2018 to 19, I think, they started a non-ad valorem utility undergrounding assessment, and it was worked out. There's a couple steps to this process, but you have to go around and get the support of all the residents to reach a percentage. In most cases, it's 51% to move forward, but in order to do so, you have to have that petition signed, show the support, and then you can move forward with putting together paperwork to do a utility undergrounding assessment. But first step of the process, we have to find out how much it's all going to cost. So the area of the city that we're currently looking at is from Causeway Boulevard to 22nd Street. So that's kind of the middle section of what's left throughout the beach that needs to be undergrounded. It's kind of a convenient section. It's how we broke up phase 2 for the Gulf Boulevard undergrounding project. And we estimate there's about 200 homes that fit in that segment. Vice Mayor Roberts is kind of what got this all started. He lives in that section of the city and is interested in leading the drive for this project. It's going to take a lot of effort to go door to door and explain, the initiative, how much it could cost, and then building the support. So we did go out and talk to Mark Porter, who's a utility owner or consultant of Florida, and he was the one that did the estimation on the second go around on the original project. Because if you recall, the first estimation was a little low, and then they come back around, which is something that we do not want to do on this project. But Mark Porter, by the time he got involved in the original, turned out to be the right guy, and he's still working with us today. But that was about 10 years ago we started the Bellevue Estates project. So he works with us, gives us great pricing. I did get a price, and this is the opinion of probable cost. Again, he has a lot of experience. I believe with this proposal, he's going to get us the number that we need, an accurate number that we can build a little bit of cushion on it and give to residents that if they make a decision, it'll be all accurate and we can move forward with the project. So I went back through our accounting, and from what I understand, the last time we did this is the city fronted the proposal costs up front for the estimation, and then as the project moved forward, it was built back into the assessment costs. So in this case, we would have to front the money up from the city's budget. I think this will definitely give us information moving forward to understand how much a significant section of the city's going to cost and how much per house on average we're looking at currently with our current cost structure. So long explanation that it's a little over $5,000 expenditure. But I'd still like council support if we're moving forward with this, because if this is successful, then it would be to move on to another section of the city. Hopefully, eventually have all of our beach underground.
What group of streets would this encompass to begin with?
So from north of Causeway, so east side only, because the Bella Shore's on the opposite, so 12th to 22nd Street.
No, I think it's, obviously the first step is to get the cost. So when I go knocking on the doors, that's obviously going to be everybody's first question, how much is it going to cost me? So that's what Kyle just explained, why we need that, how much it's going to cost. My gut feel tells me just in casual conversations, I don't think we'll have any issue at all with getting over 50% participation. So I think it's good for the city and of course for the individual homes in that area. Anytime we have a storm, that's always a concern, that if a power pole goes down and the wires go down with it, that creates problems. So that's why we're interested.
Councilmember Beam?
Just as a reminder, when they do the evaluation on one house that is underground already, and there are a few, they're going to be paying a little bit less. So your percentages, what they did in Bellevue Estates Island, the percentages for approval for a project went up to about 68%. So you're going to have to count on that, not 51, but be in the 60s.
And so what caused that?
Difference evaluation that each person
that.
is going to gain.
Okay.
One person is going to gain more because they have more work done, and the person that's already had it underground to the pole is less of evaluation.
Right.
So the percentage of approval had to be raised.
Okay.
And that project was, or that whole process was spearheaded by Mark Boyd.
Didn't the value or the cost also vary slightly depending upon what your meter was like on the side of your house?
The meters were not touched.
Mine was.
Yours was?
Yeah, they had to, there was a pole going up and they had to install a new box with one going down.
Well, what most of the homes did is what they did is they cut it off above the meter, put a junction box in, and then ran the new line up to the junction box. Because once you involve the meter, that requires an inspection inside the house, and that's one thing we didn't want to do is cause more cost to the project and to the homeowner, because that would have to be done separately with a permit from the county to have an electrician come in and change all that. That worked out well. Maybe they did yours for a reason, maybe there was something wrong with the meter
Maybe
box.
so, maybe so. Do you have more report?
No, but that's a good point. Yes, so like if you already have your service undergrounded, you will not be paying for that price. So everything will be separated out based on what you should pay. There were 3 loans with the Bellevue Estate Island, but that was because they had to get this second loan because it wasn't enough originally. So ideally, this project would have one main loan and then a separate loan for everybody who needed the service underground. So 2 loans. Shirley?
So, if we're going to 22nd, there's only a couple of streets that are not underground and beyond 22nd. It would be the Hibiscus Streets running north, and then Harrison. I think Howard and Belle Isle are already underground.
Yes.
A is already underground.
Howard is not.
Howard is not? Yes, it
You're
is.
gonna do 25th, 26th, 27th, whatever it is.
I thought just.
26 to
before you
25
do
is
it-
not underground.
If you're going to do it, we should, this is probably a work session discussion, but we should look at doing everything north of the light, because there are so many streets already done, but I think this conversation is more of a work session conversation, and I don't want to bog down with it, just a thought.
That's a good suggestion. Can we add that to a work session? Continue the conversation?
Sure. We'll continue this to the next person.
Do you have other comments?
Just want to say that we reached out to Citizens Advisory Committee. We set up a date to review the budget and go over our capital priorities, and that will be on Wednesday, August 26th.
All right. Other questions or comments for the city manager?
Yeah, I did have one. So if it's going north, when does it go south?
We're talking about the underground.
Yeah.
So, are you talking about the next initiative that we're, so, I guess I've heard interest on the southern houses on the water, but I do not know what the interest level is in your area all the time. So, there may be interest, and we can explore that, so that might be something that may possibly bring to the work session, but we know, or we find out.
It's kind of a resident initiative, so residents have to kind of get.
So it would be the same type of petition?
Yes, it would all be the same depending on how, we would add more houses.
Just look back at the history, whenever 22nd and beyond was done, the power lines were all over the place. It looked like a third world country down there. And if you get on the other side of the bridge, where you're closer to the beach, most of the power lines go between the backs of homes. And so they don't see these power lines whenever they look out their front door. They only see them whenever they're looking out back. And most people, I won't say most people, I'll say that I do remember a lot of people with no interest at all, because they didn't think it was a problem, because outside is out of mind. And so for us, because we didn't have homes back to back, it was a no-brainer. It was very, very easy to say, oh, I'd love to see all that gone. And so that may be where you have a little bit of pushback, but who knows? Maybe the mindset has changed. I would love to see all of Bel Air Beach underground. That'd be awesome.
And as you get down like to Harbor and the houses on the water in the south, you get more wires overhead, the way they run.
Right. Understood.
All right, anything else for the city manager? Yes, Mark.
Just a message for council. I'll talk to you after the meeting because I know somebody that is very interested in the underground. I'll give you his name. Maybe you guys can connect afterward.
Yeah, just so I get some feedback. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Riefler. Now we are up to the city clerk report. Hi, Kathy.
Hey. So pretty average month of meetings, minutes, and agendas. We did host the Big C here on July 29th, which was a nice turnout. I did look back for Councilmember Bankard. You had asked for the forum for the state representative to come on the property tax, and that is on the schedule for August 27th at 5 o'clock.
I'll ask you from now on.
And then, what else? I've just been working on the survey as we discussed, and that's all I have.
Any questions or comments for the city clerk?
Just a comment.
One comment?
I think it's a great idea to do the two-step approach with the cards being mailed out, as opposed to only sending the emails to the people that have okayed that. So I think this will be far more effective, and I would anticipate we get a lot more response.
We
So
hope
it's a
so.
good idea.
And
Thanks.
to also spread the word, anybody who wants to be on the email list who is not, let everyone know, call in, and we can get them set up so then they can also start receiving the newsletter and everything, all the other pertinent information that we send out.
Okay.
And I like Councilmember Harper's idea of the 2D barcode.
Mhm.
People like real
Right.
quick with their phone, so if you can make
Sure.
that happen, that'd be
Mhm.
awesome. All right, thank you very much, Kathy. Now we're up to citizen comments. This is where we welcome comments from the community about any topic not already on tonight's agenda. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. If any council member wishes to respond, I ask that you hold your responses until council comments. Would anyone like to address the council? Yes. Please come up.
Debbie Mall, 115 Causeway Boulevard, and my husband is yielding 3 minutes to me, his 3 minutes to me as
I'll
well.
allow 6 minutes. Thank you.
And Mark will also if I need more, but I don't think I will. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I appreciate the time to speak tonight. I've heard the members on council say on several occasions that we need to be good neighbors to Bel Air Shore. I agree that cooperation and civility are important. However, being a good neighbor should never mean asking our own residents to repeatedly accept unequal treatment or the loss of their rights. We have 2 citizens who have stacks of communication from Bel Air Shore acquired under the Freedom of Information Act. If you would read these, as I have, you would realize Bel Air Shore has absolutely no intention of being a good neighbor to Bel Air Beach. The way they talk about us is horrible, unprofessional, and unacceptable. They have every intention of keeping us from using the beach as much as possible. The first responsibility of every elected official sitting on this council is not to another city. It is not to another mayor, and it's not to another council. It is to the citizens of this city who elected you and entrusted you with protecting their interests. Many of our residents are asking a simple question. At what point do we stop accommodating Bel Air Shore and start advocating for Bel Air Beach? Our citizens deserve leaders who insist on fairness, accept reciprocity, and are willing to stand up for the people they represent. I respectfully ask this council to remember who your residents are first. They are the families who live in this city, pay taxes here, volunteer here, and are elected to serve them, and you are elected to serve them. I'd also like to speak about the way our city approaches decision-making when it comes to Bel Air Shore. Unfortunately, our first priority has been not to upset Bel Air Shore, not to poke the bear. By the time the council finally takes action, the circumstances have changed. Our options have narrowed and our leverage has been lost. When we delay difficult decisions, we don't preserve our negotiating position, we weaken it. We wait to act until Bel Air Shore has taken an action that negatively affects our city. At that point, we are no longer shaping the outcome, we are simply responding to it. Being proactive is not about acting hastily. It's about planning ahead, recognizing emerging issues, gathering facts, and making thoughtful decisions before options disappear. On every single issue we've had with Bel Air Shore, from umbrellas to locking the gates and now the removal of ECL, council has had ample notification from citizens about these issues. Instead of listening and checking out the issues, our council has referred to these citizens as rogue and troublemakers, and even at Bel Air Shore meetings, no less. Regarding every one of these issues, council chose a wait-and-see strategy, which relegated us to reacting instead of being proactive. As a result, some citizens in Bel Air Beach formed an alliance. In just a few days, we have over 200 homeowners in the group and had raised over $5,000 with more than $10,000 additional pledged. We looked into attorneys to represent us and chose Joe Manzo because he has skin in the game. And Kyle, if you'd like, I can share with you a list of attorneys we looked into. But I can promise you the 2 most knowledgeable are already taken. We have one and Bel Air Shore has the other one. Joe Manzo anticipated Bel Air Shore's arguments with the DEP and had a prepared response to the DEP the day after Bel Air Shore filed their request. He would do the same with their appeal, as requested by the citizens he represents. Meanwhile, our council got a resolution to the DEP after the DEP had made their decision. Again, a day late and $1 short, and a total waste of your time and our taxpayers' money. Joe Manzo notified us that the city had asked him if he might be interested in representing the city instead of our group. We unanimously said no, that we did not trust the city to represent our best interests in a timely manner. How sad is that? Even Attorney Trask advised this council, don't wait to see what happens. Now is the time to get involved. At the workshop meeting, one council member stated, if the situation moves forward, then our city can take action. This just shows how out of touch our council is. Bel Air Shore has hired a high-powered attorney to write and file their appeal. The situation has already moved forward. If Bel Air Shore's appeal is granted, our city will once again be ill-prepared to immediately take action. We should have been looking into representation a month ago. The majority of homeowners purchased in Bel Air Beach due to the proximity and access to the beach. Just read all the real estate listings. They all mention the beach. When it comes to dealing with Bel Air Shore, our residents deserve a council that is proactive instead of reactive, strategic instead of hesitant, and prepared instead of pressured. The decisions you make are important, but just as important is when you make them. Timing determines whether our city is leading a conversation or simply responding to someone else's decision. Thank you.
Other citizens, would anyone like to speak? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Kyle, do you have any follow-up to citizen comments?
No.
All right. Okay, well, in that case, we will move right on to the consent agenda. This is items 9 through 11. This is for approval of the July the 6th, 2026 City Council meeting minutes, approval of the July 27th, 2026 budget workshop meeting minutes, and approval of the July 27th, 2026 special City Council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda passes. Now we are on to item number 12 of the regular agenda. This is consideration of ordinance number 2026-03 in the second reading. Tom, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and read this ordinance. This is the second and final reading of ordinance 2026-03, an ordinance of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 22 Environment of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Bel Air Beach by amending the list of prohibiting conditions in Section 22-33 to exempt certain basketball hoops, by deleting the $500 cap on the administrative fee in Section 22-38, by amending Section 22-40 to allow for payment of liens and installments established by City Council, by amending Section 22-61 of the noise ordinance to delete the yelling and shouting and adding boats and vehicles without mufflers, and prohibiting boat motors from being operated out of the water for more than 30 minutes during a 24-hour period, by amending the noise exemption list in Section 22-62 to delete references to certain holidays, providing for codification, severability, and for an effective date. Again, this is the second final reading of ordinance 2026-03. I've read that by title only. It was first read and approved by the council on July 6, 2026.
Thank you, Tom. Let's go to the citizens for comments on ordinance 2026-03. Anyone like to speak on this ordinance? All right, citizen comments now closed. Council, I need a motion for approval of ordinance number 2026-03.
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Roberts. Do I have a second?
Second.
I believe that was Harper. Yes?
Yes, sir.
All right. Vice Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. It's always interesting when we have the workshops and we discuss reviewing our ordinances. And this is just a simple example of adding some minor language when we were discussing the toys being left outside on the driveways. Clearly, it wasn't meant to include a very large, heavy, weighted base type of basketball goal. So we just simply added that information. It was more about like a little tight basketball goal that a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old would play with out there. Obviously, we don't want those just laying in the driveway. So I think it's a good opportunity that every year or two we review these ordinances and we'll discuss it and we'll come across something that just seems logical because of timing to change something. So again, this is second reading. I think we already approved it once, so no other issues.
Other council comments on this ordinance? Yes, Baker.
Well, first of all, the ordinance in front of the city and council tonight, as Mr. Trask read in section 2, if you look at what was presented to council last month, the wording of the $500 max fee is deleted, not included in section 2A on this reading, which I believe maybe missed out the first reading instead of the second, or the first reading was invalid. I believe, looking at this a little bit further, that, let's see, Florida Statute 166.041-2 clearly states it has to be read or presented to the city clearly both times, not one time. Now, if you're missing a period, a capital letter or whatever like that, that's fine, but you took out the crux of what we were eliminating. Used to be $500 max. I brought up, now that we're eliminating the $500, it could be $1,000. Another council member said, or more. I leave my lawn spreader out in my driveway. I leave my power drill out, basketball or whatever. Is this going to be selective enforcement? We don't live in an HOA. We live in the city of Bel Air Beach, right? This is just overreaching again by the government, and I'm 100% against it.
Tom, would you like to address his concerns about the ordinance changing?
The ordinance has not changed. Evidently, when it was published in the agenda packet, it accepted all of the changes. So it just doesn't reflect the strikeout and underline, but the language is exactly what was proposed at the first reading.
Thank you, Tom. Other council comments? No?
Can I just add that we reviewed all this in work session. It was presented to us by our P&Z committee who presented these proposed changes. We discussed it, we approved it. I don't see a need to question it at this point.
Thank you. Other comments? Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard?
No.
Councilmember Bean?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Roberts?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. So the ordinance passes 6-1. All right, now we are on to item number 13. This is consideration of ordinance number 2026-04. This also is the second reading. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2026-04, an ordinance of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 38, Parks, Recreation Areas, and City Facilities of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Bel Air Beach by deleting the requirement for a renter's registration address and driver's license address to match the city address of the leased property for the issuance of a renter decal, providing for codification, severability, and for an effective date. This was first read on July 6th at the council meeting then. It was approved. This is the second and final reading.
Thank you, Tom. Before we take it to the council, go to the citizens for comments. Would anyone like to speak on ordinance 2026-04? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion for approval of ordinance 2026-04.
So moved.
Motion is made by Councilmember Shirley. Do I have a second?
Second.
That is Councilmember Bean. Vice Mayor, Councilmember Shirley, you have the floor.
I don't have anything additional to add. This is a second reading.
Other comments? All right. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard?
Yes.
Councilmember Bean?
Aye.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Roberts?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
All right, so ordinance 2026-04 is approved, passes unanimously. All right, now we are on to item number 14. This is for consideration of ordinance number 2026-06. This also is a second reading. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2026-06, an ordinance of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending section 58-32 of chapter 58, traffic and motor vehicles of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Bel Air Beach by prohibiting the standing or parking of a vehicle within a cul-de-sac, providing for codification, severability, and for an effective date. This was first read on July 6, 2026 at the council meeting and approved. This is the second and final reading.
Thank you, Tom. Let's go to the citizens for comments. Would anyone like to speak on ordinance 2026-06? Yes, please. Debbie Mall first.
My question is, we have...
Please come up to the podium.
Oh, sorry.
We have an ordinance for parking on the streets, so we need a separate ordinance for parking on a cul-de-sac, is that correct? Am I understanding this correctly?
So this is added to the prohibited areas you can park within a cul-de-sac. So like it listed, like in front of a driveway, or there's a bunch of different, so many feet within an intersection. So there's parking for construction during the work hours, but then there's prohibited areas you can park.
Okay, so you can park on a street if you're a construction vehicle, is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But we looked at the cul-de-sacs and realized that the way that most of the driveways are positioned, there was no parking inside of cul-de-sacs to begin with. So we just wanted to make it clear.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Well,
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mark McIntyre, 3040 Hibiscus Drive. Kind of along the same lines, we have an ordinance already for that parking on the streets. I'm just curious as to what the differentiation here is. And honestly, maybe we just need to enforce the existing cul-de-sac part of the street.
so you can park if you're construction or a worker during the construction hours, but at no time can you park within the cul-de-sac, is what we're saying. So
Even
prior to
construction
this-
workers.
Yeah, even construction workers.
So they'd be parking on the street somewhere other than in front of the construction.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other citizens? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion for approval of ordinance 2026-06. Motion is made by Councilmember Beam. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is that okay? Councilmember Harper? Mark, you have the floor.
All right, just to kind of clarify some stuff we talked about up here to the audience, one of the main reasons to put a sign or prevent parking in the cul-de-sacs is for mainly emergency vehicles or fire department. If there's any vehicle in the cul-de-sac, they can't turn the vehicle around because the vehicles are large. And the same thing with any delivery vehicles. If there's parking in the cul-de-sac, they can't do it. They have to back all the way down the street to make it out. So it's a safety issue more than anything else. That's all.
Thank you. Do we have other comments from the council on this ordinance?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I think it would also apply, let's say, for example, somebody was having an event at their house and they got a permit, and asked the city for people to park. We don't want them parking in the cul-de-sac for just the reason that was just mentioned. So it could also apply in those scenarios, because I could see if people were having 20 cars coming to the party, somebody would say, well, sweet, I'll just park here. We don't want that.
Other comments? All right, well, I'll add that if you go to any of the cul-de-sacs that have the concrete feature in the middle, you'll see that they're beat all to pieces for that very reason, where there's just not enough room to turn around. So I think that this is a good ordinance, and now I'll call for a vote. Kathy?
Councilmember Bankert?
Yes.
Councilmember Beam?
Aye.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Roberts?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. So ordinance 2026-06 is approved in the second reading. Thank you very much. Now we're on to item number 15, consideration of ordinance 2026-11. This also is the second reading. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2026-11, an ordinance of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, repealing Chapter 86 of the City Code, the sign regulations, in its entirety, creating a new Chapter 86 of the City Code, providing for comprehensive sign regulations, making related findings, providing for codification, severability, and an effective date. This was first read and approved on July 6, 2026 at the council meeting. This is the second and final reading of this ordinance.
Thank you, Tom. Let's go to the citizens for comments on this ordinance. Anyone like to speak? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to approve ordinance number 2026-11.
So moved.
Motion is made by Councilmember Shirley. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm going to give that one to Vice Mayor Roberts. Councilmember Shirley, you have the floor.
I don't have anything more to add. We discussed it in the last meeting. and it's a second reading.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes. More government outreach. This, I don't know how many people, even on this council, have read this ordinance. It starts off with about 104 whereas. It's 47 pages long. Mr. Trask, is this going to be unchallengeable in a court of law if someone raises questions? Like if I want to dress my grandkid up as a mascot of a Buccaneer and take him around trick-or-treating, do I have to stand behind and say this isn't a commercial message if someone says go Bucks? Because EE says commercial mascots are prohibited. There's a ton of stuff. You go into and advertising vessels. Anyone that goes to the beach here knows out of Clearwater there's an advertising vessel that comes down. I hope you can swim, Mr. Trump, because that's about 100 yards off the coast. Who's going to tag them with a fine? Illuminating signs, as long as they're aesthetic to the neighborhood. The malls are here. I hope you put one up. All right, because we got one here. Flags. Allowed 2 flags. So anyone that wants to put a bunch of flags up for Labor Day, 4th of July in their yard, like a lot of people do, I might be a culprit because I put them up for the city on the streets. I don't know if I'm in violation. Wall coverings. People put them up. Their front door, garage doors. That might be a violation too. Again, this is not an HOA. This is a city. I ran to protect what my forefathers and foremothers gave us, not to get into your personal life. And this is just wrong. I could go on all night. It's 47 pages, but I won't.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Baker. Other comments? No? Kathy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Bankard?
Hell no.
Councilmember Bean?
Aye.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Roberts?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. So the ordinance passes 6-1. Ordinance number 2026-11 in the second reading. All right, now we are on to item number 16. Another ordinance, number 2026-12. This also is the second reading. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2026-12. I'm going to read it by title only. An ordinance of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 94 zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Bel Air Beach by adding gazebo and pergola to Section 94-2 definitions, and by amending Section 94-210 to provide that sheds, gazebos, and pergolas are accessory structure and may not be erected on a parcel that does not contain a primary structure, providing for codification, severability, and an effective date. This was first read and approved at your council meeting on July the 6th. This is the second and final reading of this ordinance.
Thank you, Tom. Let's go to the citizens for comments on ordinance 2026-12. Yes.
First of all, I'd like to,
Excuse me.
Annette Hopper,
What's your name and address?
115 8th Street.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to second all of Frank's comments in the last two. We don't live in HOA. What are we doing here? The question I have for this particular ordinance is, I live on a double lot. So is that considered one? So the primary structure is on is it just on half of my lot because I'm on a double lot, or how does that apply to me on a double lot?
Look at that specifically. I mean, is it a unionized lot? I mean, I could look into what.
I don't know. I just have a double lot. It's one address, but I have a double lot.
In the back and forth.
appropriate if you wanted to apply for something or talk to Kyle one-on-one to come meet with him? Because I think that's going to be specific to your case, right?
Well, am I the only one in Bel Air Beach that has a double lot?
There aren't a lot of them. There aren't a lot of them.
I believe it's unionized with like your primary structure, and you could divide it just depending on what it is.
I could divide it, or I could
Yeah,
put something on my second lot.
I guess we have to look at the situation and we can figure out what the answer.
Well, don't you think we should probably put that in the ordinance then, to make it clear, so that those homeowners that do have double lots, it clearly says you can only erect something on the lot in which you have your primary house on. So my question is how does that?
You'd have a unionized lots, you have 2 lots, and you have a primary structure, so you could, the way your house is set up currently, you could have a shed on the unionized lot, which was a larger lot, yes.
Okay.
But if you were to divide those lots, and you had a vacant lot, you could not just put a shed only on one of your lots.
Okay.
Other questions or comments from the citizens?
Art McIntyre, 3040 Hibiscus. Just along the same lines, let's say that a property next door goes up for sale. And I buy that, and I raise the house that's there with the intent of putting in a separate structure, a gazebo or a pool or something like that. How would this would it restrict my ability to do that?
So you're, say it again, I'm sorry.
I'm on a double lot right now.
Okay.
Let's say a house on either side, more and back, comes up for sale, and I just want to expand the property. But I don't want the house, so I knock the house down.
Okay.
Am I restricted from using that lot for anything other than putting a primary structure? Or could I put a gazebo or a pool house or whatever?
Okay, what I'm going to ask, this is kind of getting out of hand, as soon as all the citizens have spoken, it comes back to the council for debate, and I'm sure that everyone will address your questions.
It's just a point of clarification.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from the citizens? Yes, ma'am.
Debbie Hall, 115 Causeway. I think we might need to clarify this because more and more people are buying 2 lots. And I think this is going to be an issue going forward. So I think y'all might want to take a look at just clarifying that issue.
Thank you. Other citizen comments? Yes. Please give us your name and address, sir.
Roger Mall, 115 Causeway Boulevard. I just caution you to look at the wording really carefully because I can see instances even with a single lot where if you look at Architectural Digest and some of the magazines like this, they're really promoting, and I think most people from the quality of life like the idea where nothing is attached to their house, but they're building really nice gazebos and or bars or fireplaces, all sorts of things in their backyard to complement their swimming pools. And so it's it's a major construction project, and we ourselves, for instance, with the wording of this, I've been concerned that the city council actually passed a variance for us to put a spiral staircase down to mitigate fire concerns in our backyard. But without that variance, we wouldn't have been able to do it. But this would preclude us from doing that but it is attached to the house. But what I'm hearing you say is that if it's not attached to the house, like a fire pit or something like that, then it would fall outside of this code, and they wouldn't be able to make a real nice backyard. So just be careful of the wording. I'm sure I have faith and confidence that you'll go the right way, but I don't know the whole wording of this. So just make sure that it's worded right so it doesn't preclude us from having enjoyment of our property. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Any other citizens like to speak on this topic? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion for approval of ordinance 2026-12. Motion is made by Councilmember Harper. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Roberts. Councilmember Harper, you have the floor.
The intent of this ordinance was essentially to make it easier for the residents to add additional structures to the backyard. No longer it's just is it a sled-only kind of conversation. The intent was that the deeded or the accessory facility would be on the deeded property. So my opinion is that if you had two deeded separate pieces of property, then they would be treated as two different deeded sets of property with the appropriate adjustments. So with that, I think that this is in the right interest of the owners, and it gives them more flexibility, and I would support this ordinance.
Thank you, Councilmember Harper. Tom, would you like to weigh in on this?
Thank you. I was waiting for my opportunity. So the way that the change is, and I'll just read it, sheds, gazebos, and pergolas are accessory structures that may not be erected on a parcel that does not contain a primary structure. It is not a lot, it is a parcel. And so if your parcel is, you have two lots side by side, that's the parcel. So I don't think that you're going to have any concern. If you have two lots, then we're not going to take any more questions.
Excuse me.
But I have two parcels
Sorry, order.
on my property.
I'm sorry, this is not a back and forth. We've already heard your comments, and please give the city attorney the opportunity to speak, please.
So if there's a unity of title document, that would make it even simpler. You can tie two lots or three lots, however you want to do, to one parcel. You can do that. But the way this currently reads, it reflects parcel and doesn't necessarily mean lot. So you can have more than one lot in a parcel. So that's the position we would take. And then, obviously, if there is some concern relative to a property owner being in violation, I mean, we would definitely, it isn't a matter of, let's just going out and filing code enforcement actions against property owners. There would be a review of each and every situation as we move forward before any code enforcement action would be taken. But I think that you can feel safe that if you own two lots, and you have your home on one, and you have your pool, or your pergola, or a shed, or a gazebo on the other, that it is legal and will remain legal.
May I also add, Dave, the other thing is I think part of what was being added, this code was already in force as it's written. We only made the modification, started with the suggestion to add the ability to have a gazebo, because gazebos were not permitted in the city. And there were a number of people that have them. So we were trying to fix a problem in the process. And that's what I think that's how this came about initially. I don't believe if we changed any language other than that, just allowing for the pergolas, gazebos, and allowing some of those waterfront homes that have had gazebos and had to take them down. I know one gentleman had to have this taken down because it was not a permanent structure.
And if anything, this code is more relaxed than it was before this ordinance was drafted. Other comments from the council?
I agree with Mr. Harper's analogy on this. I've gone with citizens about sheds and everything like that. We have to remember, I guess it was 3 years ago when the governor signed a bill allowing people to put crops on the front of their lawns. Okay, so you can actually plant corn if you want, squash. Don't put a sign on it that it's corn because you just passed the law. You can't. You're allowed to do vegetable and harvesting on your ground, as the governor signed about 3 years ago. So if you really want to get technical with all this, a lot of this stuff can be formed.
Other comments? Yes, Mark.
The only thing that came up years ago was the fact when there were two separate parcels, you can combine the parcels to one. You go through the county and you combine the both lots into one to make one lot. That was the only problem that came up probably 10 years ago.
Other comments?
I don't know what Mr. Trask would say about that, but if the lots are combined, there's not a problem. If they're separate, they may be.
So that was the position I was trying to make is that if you have two lots, you have your home on one and you have one of these accessory structures on the other, then that will not change. This will basically legalize it. It wasn't legalized before if you had a pergola or a a gazebo. So now that you'll be able to do that, before you could just have a shed, now you can have all three. And you're right, on some occasions, people have gone to the Pinellas County Property Appraiser and Tax Collector's Office and have asked to join them together for purposes of tax purposes, and they do that by way of just filling out a form. What I was suggesting was a unity of title, which is basically a recorded document that contains both of them, both the lots together. Usually we require that if you're going to build a house across two lot lines. It's not required if you don't build your house over the lot line and you have your pergola, your shed, or your gazebo on the other one. But this change in the code is beneficial to what is happening right now. The deed is not more restrictive, it's more beneficial.
Any other comments? Kathy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Bankert?
Yes.
Councilmember Bean?
Aye.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Roberts?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. So ordinance 2026-12 passes unanimously in its second reading. Thank you very much, council. Now we will move on to item number 17. This is for consideration of resolution number 2026-09. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. This is Resolution 2026-09, resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, approving the fiscal year 2026-2027 non-ad valorem assessment roll for the Bellevue Estates Island Assessment Area, directing the certification of the assessment roll to the Pinellas County Tax Collector and providing an effective date. This resolution is similar to the resolution that you complete every year. It basically adopts an assessment roll by property, by parcel ID number. It sets the dollar amount of the annual installment that is due. This is necessary for the tax collector to add this to the tax roll so that it gets paid when the taxes are collected. So it's exactly like it has been over the last several years. There's no different, it's just updated.
Thank you, Tom. Let's go to the citizens for comments. This is citizen comments for resolution number 2026-09. Would anyone like to speak? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to approve resolution number 2026-09.
So moved.
I'm going to give that one to Vice Mayor Roberts. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm going to give that one to Mark because he spoke up. All right, Vice Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this has been going on every year since 2018, and we will continue it, I would imagine, until the 20 years have been completed.
Other comments? No? All right, in that case, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert?
Yeah.
Councilmember Bean?
Aye.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Roberts?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
Aye, so the resolution passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Now we are on to item number 18. This is for resolution number 2026-10. Tom, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Resolution 2026-10, a resolution of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, approving a consumer price index indicated increase to the city's solid waste collection disposal rates, making related findings and providing for severability and effective date. As you know, the city entered into an agreement for the collection of solid waste and recycling materials in 2023. That agreement provides in paragraph 38 that on October 1st of each year, the term of the agreement, the rates can be adjusted upward or downward in an amount equal to the percentage change in the consumer price index. This has happened several times over the last couple of years. The current increase was requested by the contractor on May 26th. The CPI for the preceding year increased 4.44%, but your contract provides it's going to be capped at 4%, so that's the appropriate rate. And the contractor requested a 6.01 increase in the disposal rate, and that's based upon the change in the tipping fees that the contractor is experiencing because the Pinellas County Commission adopted a 6.01 increase in their tipping fees. They used to charge $58.86 per ton. They're now charging $62.40 per ton, effective October 1st, 2026. Beginning October 1, 2026, the bi-monthly solid waste collection rate will be for multifamily dumpsters, $56. For multifamily can, $61.50, and for single family, $64.50. In addition, beginning October 1st, 2026, the solid waste disposal rate will be $62.40 per ton. The resolution will take effect immediately upon adoption, but the rate will not change until October the 1st.
Thank you, Tom. Let's go to the citizens for comments on Resolution 2026-10. Would anyone like to speak? Yes, please come up.
Roger Mall, 115 Causeway Boulevard. This is just more for information, is that since we've lived here for 22 years, I don't think the section from that pond across the street over around the corner has ever been cleaned up with branches, except for by people who live in the homes right there. And the reason that I just bring that up to you is that we routinely, almost every week, have to take quite a few branches that have fallen down behind the fence over here, because you visibly don't see it from here. And Kyle's been great about when you used to be responsible for clearing it up, where we could get all the branches together and the fronds and all that, and he would have his staff pick them up. Well, now the county's doing it, and supposedly once a week they come in and supposed to remove all that, but they don't do it. They do the whole habit of leaving all the stuff back there and around it. So even if you were to walk by our property now and around, and the reason why it's a concern is we have a lot of people who go around that property to our house to get to the street. So there's quite a few people who walk by there, and I don't know if the county or the city is really at risk because they can trip on all those branches. But we do a pretty good job of keeping them clean. Well, I'm sure that we're all paying for the branches that we take to both sides of the street to have the trash guys pick them up so that they can take care of the situation. So that means we're incurring costs. So if the county truly is going to do this, it would be nice at 75 years old not to have to clean up after the county on branches that they're already supposed to remove. So just point of information.
Thank you. Other citizens? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to approve resolution number 2026-10.
Motion.
Motion is made by Councilmember Banker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Beam. Mr. Banker, you have the floor.
You really don't have much of a argument or plan here, except to pay the bill. It's just a question, why a single family pays $3 more than a multi-family can? I would think a multi-family puts more trash out than a single family. It is what it is, unless we want to find someplace else to dump our trash.
I think that's per unit. So
Does it say that in
adds
there?
up. It adds up. It's per bill. Yeah.
Is it
It adds up.
is it read in there? I didn't see it.
It says family, multifamily can.
Yeah.
So it's each for each can. The single family, there's not a qualifier saying that it's limited to one can. It could be obviously more than one can. That's how I read it.
Other comments from the council? All right. In that case, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Banker?
Yes.
Councilmember Bean?
Aye.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Roberts?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. Resolution 2026-10 passes unanimously. And now we are on to item number 19. This is for consideration of approval of the proposal from Gemini Engineering and Sciences, Inc. for the 22nd Street Bridge Scour Assessment and Structural Evaluation in the lump sum amount of $224,200. Kyle, you are up.
Thank you. So this is the proposal to repair the 22nd Street Bridge. As recap, we had a scour critical report given to us by the FDOT post-inspection. The main reason for the report is that the bridge is so old that we do not know the depth of the actual piers of the bridge. So as they do the inspections year after year, they will indicate that if there is some scour, and in this case we had some scour. It had not increased a lot, but it's still a scour critical designation. So in doing the evaluation of the bridge and the age of the bridge, we established that it was most likely put in around the time of 1955. From there, there was a determination of what kind of concrete was used, but overall, the deterioration and the current observations made on the bridge and the tests that they did, they feel that with doing this repair, which is going to patch up areas that have spalling, it's going to put in countermeasures that will be determined after a geotechnical investigation and hydraulical analysis. Once those are in place, those will prevent further scouring over the future years. We're hoping for a lifetime of 15 to 20 additional years for the construction costs of estimated about $400,000. And then this proposal puts together all of the evaluation tasks into the building the scour countermeasures and putting those into place. The one difference, we had a slightly more cost because we asked for engineering and inspections from Ayers on the project during construction. They had a post-design fee that we thought was the CEI, but that added about an additional $45,000 for the actual CEI for the project construction. So the total purchase order for this proposal is $224,200 that would be executed to Gemini, who would lead and coordinate the project, and Ayers would function underneath a sub professional.
Thank you, Kyle. Let's go to the citizens for comments on this project. Would anyone like to speak? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion for approval of the proposal from Gemini Engineering and Sciences, Inc.
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Roberts. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Shirley. Vice Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. The biggest discussion we had on this particular topic, I believe, during one of the workshops was whether or not it would be best to repair the bridge or replace the bridge. And based on the numbers and the costing numbers of repairing versus replacing, and couple that with the lifespan of both of those decisions, it made sense to me to go with the repair, which is the direction we're going now.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Roberts. Would anyone else like to comment on this? Yes, Councilmember.
I think moving forward, I would like to see a couple more bids, just out of curiosity, to see what another contractor, bridge contractor, would charge us to replace that bridge, so we know how to budget this in the next couple of years. This company may have been too high, the next one may be low. At least we have a better idea of what the future costs are going to be, so we can budget it properly.
Kyle, do you have any comments on these comments?
No, I think he's got a good point. We've seen a lot of prices for bridges. We're looking at a lot of different designs, but I think we should continue to research what's out there. And hopefully, the more time that this repair buys us, that it presents more options moving forward.
So are you saying that you're still for moving forward?
I think what he's saying is that we should continue to get bids on the replacement of complete overall, did I understand that correctly? Member Bean?
Pardon me?
Did I understand your question? You're saying that moving forward, we should keep checking the price to replace the overall
So
bridge?
when we
So
when we
correct
go into budgeting next year, we can put the right amount of money in there for the replacement in maybe 10 years, 15 years.
Councilmember Baker.
I don't have a problem too much with, I agree with what Member Bean said about going out looking for other bids and that. I do have a big problem with Gemini overseeing theirs. I've made comments, I don't have any faith in Gemini. Yesterday, I was talking to the deputy on 9th Street, which was just done over, what, a year and a half ago. And his cruiser was parked in deep water because there's no flow. The flow in the Miami curbs, I call them, wasn't going down to the drain. That was a problem. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but I really do think we should look at other avenues, as Mr. Bean said.
Other comments? No? Oh, yes.
Just to clarify, so you were talking about construction costs, so this is just for the design portion of this project. So when we actually get to the point where we're going to select a contractor, there will be a bid process, and there'll be multiple, ideally, companies bidding
For the design, yes.
for the construction.
Right.
Construction, yeah, for the design, sorry.
Yes. So this includes some further evaluation tasks and then design and planning and process, construction phase, engineering, and then post-construction. Okay. So full package.
Any other comments? No? Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert?
Yes.
Councilmember Bean?
Aye.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Roberts?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. So the proposal from Gemini Engineering and Sciences Incorporated is approved. Mr. Reefer, you are authorized to proceed. Now we're on to item number 20. This is to authorize city manager to execute an extension and a 5% increase in the amount of $70,350 annually to the memorandum of understanding for accounting services with Andrew Test CPA effective October 1st, 2026 through September 30th, 2027. Take it away, Mr. Riefler.
Okay, so come December, he'll be coming up on 7th year as our city treasurer. And Andrew Test has always been the city treasurer at one point for about 3 years. Heather worked underneath him before she moved on to another position. And then he came back and has been working on Wednesdays and Fridays to continue on as city treasurer firsthand. And each year he does an MOU. He did the minimum was 3%. He did 3%, I believe, for 5 years straight, and then in the last years he's been asking for a little bit more, but I think it's reasonable, and he's doing a great job.
All right, let's go to the citizens for comments. Would anyone like to speak on this extension and 5% increase? Citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion for approval to authorize the city manager to execute this extension and percentage increase.
So moved.
Motion is made by Councilmember Shirley.
Second.
Second. Who is that? Oh, all right. Councilmember Shirley, you have the floor.
I have nothing more to add.
All right. Anyone else?
He is a CPA,
Yes.
and his salary is $70,350. Correct?
Yeah.
We really are cheap. I don't know how anybody stays here. God bless him.
He's on a hard time.
Any other comments? All right. This is a lower dollar amount, so I'll just do an all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Riefler, you are authorized to proceed. All right, now we are on to to item 21. This is to authorize the city manager to execute a contract for law enforcement services with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office for fiscal year 2026 through 2027. Mr. Riefler.
Okay, so the law enforcement contract is going to be an annual cost of $691,008, and that was an increase of 6.1% from the previous year. That's about what we've been averaging, 6%. And the code enforcement deputy rate went up about 6% as well. Last year was a little bit more, but typically about 6%. So about par for the course of what we've been seeing as far as law enforcement increases.
All right. Let's go to the citizens for comments. Would anyone like to speak on this topic? All right. Citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to authorize the city manager to execute this contract.
So moved.
Motion is made by Councilmember Shirley. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Bankert. Councilmember Shirley, you have the floor.
It's, again, just another house clean, opportunity. We have to have a law enforcement contract in place, and it appears that the 6% is across the board, what everyone's increasing our contracts for. So I think we need to move forward with it.
And I'll add to that I did reach out to Galtieri last year whenever the increase went up, and he said the same percentage was across the board. It was for all municipalities that contracted service with PC Sheriff's Office. So it is what it is. Any other comments? Yes, Councilmember Baker.
You guys don't make enough either, in my opinion, but that's not what this contract's about. The only problem I have with this contract is how much time. We have one deputy that services Bel Air Shores, Bel Air Beach. And are we getting a fair share of what we're paying for? But that's council's argument, not the sheriff's contract. That's all I'm going to say.
Other comments? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you are authorized to proceed. All right, now we are up to item number 22, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? No. All right, now we'll move on to council comments, starting with Councilmember Shirley.
Well, I don't know if this is unfinished business or just a comment, but workshop items, to discuss the undergrounding project for the interior roads. I would propose that we maybe try to spool up an architectural review committee to address some of these issues we're having with the variance requests that are coming through. I think there are some ways we can handle some of these variances, the request to add stairways out the front of the house, which is putting the house into the setbacks. There's plenty of ways to handle that and keep the stairs under the house. They are lifting their homes up 20 feet, and there seems to be plenty of space underneath them. They could add a staircase, and maybe that could be part of what the architectural review could discuss, but trying to, and I don't know how many more of these house lifts we're going to have, but it's creating havoc in the city, and I just would like to see us address that.
Thank you, Councilmember Shirley. Next up, Councilmember Harper.
No comments.
All right, now Councilmember Goff. Councilmember Goff.
Yep, I was thinking here for a second. So I see that, I believe it was Debbie Law that had come up and spoken a little bit earlier. I did want to comment that I did want to recognize the Bel Air Beach Citizens Alliance and all the hard work that they had done. I think their passion is admirable. For me, it's so hard to find passion in the world today, and they had it, and it was effective, and it was on our behalf as well. So I did want to say kudos and great job, and I appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone here does as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Goff. Now we'll move to Councilmember Baker.
Yeah, kudos to resident Debbie Long. One of the things, though, when our resolution that we passed unanimously here went to the DEP. In the last work session, council member wanted to know why we weren't served a copy with the decision. I served a copy, Joe Manzo served a copy. The reason we didn't get a copy is because they never even got our resolution until after the denial was already submitted. So, that ECL, if that would have gotten passed, that would have been a detriment to the city, everybody east of Gulf Boulevard, as this council member expressed, because the condo owners, hotel owners would have said, I want mine removed. And I don't know where anybody would have gone to the beach living east of Gulf Boulevard. And we need to act quickly. Bel Air Shores, when they decided to fight this, they had an attorney and a paycheck or a check in hand for him for $5,000 in 48 hours. That's all I have to say.
Councilmember Beam.
A couple of things. I agree with Councilmember Banker. We need to really be diligent on this ECL. If not, there's going to be problems. And if they get the ECL, there's probably no question that some of the owners in Bel Air Beach will do the same. And if that happens, everybody east of Gulf Boulevard will be in serious trouble. We won't have a beach to go to because we gave away Morgan Street. That's just the way things are. The other comment I have is when we do send out the information about the speed limit on Gulf Boulevard, and of course within the city, if we go down to 20 miles an hour, I think the important thing to mention is not necessarily all the data we got from the county or from anybody else about, well, you can go up to 40 or 45, or within the city you can go up to 35. We need to specify that the injuries at 20 miles an hour and 30 miles an hour are a lot less they are at 40 or 35. We have to specify and let people know that if we lower the speed limit, there's a benefit, and why it's a benefit. It's the injuries that are caused by higher speeds, the chances of surviving, the reaction time of driver, those all enter into the reason why we want to lower the speed. And I think that should be mentioned. That's all.
Thank you very much. Next is Vice Mayor Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on a more positive note, or on a positive note, I was fortunate enough to be with my family and grandchildren for this past week. And two places we visited were the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum. Just to let you know, it was a wonderful experience, both of those. And if you have the opportunity, I would highly recommend you take the time to see those two places. Additionally, we just approved the contract with the sheriff and deputies. And me personally, I'm pretty confident that probably all of the deputies that serve other cities in our county all do a great job. What I see in addition to that is the deputies that we have in our city are so professional, and more importantly, have a personality that makes it very easy and comfortable to talk to them and work with them. So I'm very appreciative of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Roberts. I have no comments tonight, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. That is made by Councilmember Banker. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Beam. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.